The Switch 2 is real! Well, technically this is mostly an empty box at this point. I got my hands on a Switch 2 at a midnight release event, and I wanted to take you along with me.
Hello, good morning. It is a very exciting day. Today is Wednesday, June 4th. The Nintendo Switch 2 releases today, midnight, tomorrow, within the next 24 hours, and I don't have a pre-order yet, but I'm feeling very confident that we're gonna walk away today with the Switch 2. We're actually currently on vacation, living the RV life at the moment. We planned this trip before I knew that the Switch 2 was going to be coming out on June 5th, and we tried to possibly get a pre-order from our local stores when they went live at midnight back in April, but we were unsuccessful ultimately. But it kind of worked out because now we are in Florida and we're going to try going to a local GameStop here where they said that they're going to start taking pre-orders again starting at 3 p.m. today. So we're basically planning to show up the second that the store opens at 11 today. I'm feeling good about today. I think we're gonna go home with the Switch today.
We got all of our stuff gathered up in the truck. We had lawn chairs, we had a cooler with snacks and beverages, anything we could possibly bring for entertainment, and we drove down the road to the local GameStop. And as we were pulling into the complex, Andrew made a comment along the lines of, "Aren't you excited to be the first one in line to try to get this pre-order?" And I kind of had a feeling that we weren't going to be the first ones arriving, and I was right. By the time we got to GameStop just before 11 a.m. when the store properly opened, there were already 8 people in line ahead of us. We got our stuff out of the truck, we went over and we got our spot in line, and we ended up really getting lucky with our spot in line.
Made it into line, sat up with a seat. We actually have a little bit of overhead cover, which is nice, because it's probably going to rain.
The 8 people who were in front of us, they were in front of the store where there wasn't any cover above them, but we were the first people kind of around the corner where we actually had a little bit of roof cover. And that was ideal because the forecast was looking like rain on and off at some points during the day, and typical Florida things, it just kind of rains every day at some point, and there was even a chance that there might have been thunderstorms at some point during the day, so we really lucked out with getting our spot with a little bit of overhead cover. Next to the GameStop, once you went around the corner, there were other businesses in the complex. There was a barber shop directly next to us that we were right next to the door of, and then after that there was a big movie theater. And everyone who got into line after us was super respectful of all the businesses. We made sure that there was plenty of space for the doors to open and close for the businesses so that people could come and go. And then instead of having the line kind of go in front of the movie theater, it kind of snaked out into the plaza area instead. And having the movie theater right there worked out perfectly because it was a restroom that we could use. I was mentally prepared to go into either the movie theater or one of the restaurants around us to pay for a movie ticket or buy something to eat so that we could be a paying customer able to use their restrooms. But the movie theater had their restrooms in the main lobby, so we just used their restrooms. Once we had our little spot set up in our little nook, I wanted to go inside the GameStop once they opened to get a little bit of a vibe check, see what the scene was going to be, make sure we had all our info right. And as I was walking into the store, one of the people who was in line in front of me said, "Can you ask how many units that they have available?" So I went inside, they were helping some other customers, and once they were done, I talked to the employee there for a few minutes, kind of making sure I had all of my information correct, and I asked how many units they had, and that particular employee didn't know, but they said that they were going to text their manager to see if they could get that information. I had a pretty good feeling that since we were within the first 10 people who were in line, that we would probably be okay, but wanted to make sure. And then the wait began.
We are 2 hours in with 2 hours to go. It's about 1 p.m. right now. I I have the umbrella open. It's kind of sprinkling on and off as it goes, and have a little charcuterie box, lunchbox packed for the afternoon. Probably about 30 people in line now, and from what we've heard, there's at least 48 bundles available and somewhere around 68 consoles total, so just a little longer.
Now, having the movie theater right next to us was really fun for a lot of different reasons. Having the bathroom accessible was really nice, but there were also people coming and going from the movie theater all day, and it was pretty soon after the new Lilo and Stitch movie had come out, so especially the earlier hours of the day, there were a lot of families or activity groups with a lot of kids who were coming and going to see the Lilo and Stitch movie, and it led to a lot of really funny interactions of these families or groups of people walking by, trying to figure out why there was a line of grown adults waiting outside the video game store. Some people would come up to us and ask what we were doing or strike up conversation, but a lot of the times it would just be people walking by where you would hear them talking to each other, trying to figure out what we were doing. And some of the people who walked by were under the impression that we were sitting there camped out until midnight that night. But it did lead to a lot of really fun people watching, and then also seeing people watching us and trying to guess and figure out what we were doing outside the GameStop.
All right, we're 3 hours down, 1 hour to go. You can hear the rain's really started, but I feel like it's gonna kind of come and go over the next hour, and then it's finally time.
The 4 hours that we were out there actually ended up passing pretty quickly. We both had our phones and I had my Switch, and so I was able to listen to podcasts, play some games, hang out and chat with people, and it was, a long afternoon of just sitting outside a GameStop, but maybe it was the excitement or something that made the time really pass quickly. Something that did surprise me a little bit was that the 8 people who were in front of us in line, most of them had brought a lawn chair or something, but not everybody did. There were some people who were sitting on the ground, just on the cement. And props to them, because we sat in a lawn chair for 4 hours and I felt my body getting a little bit sore from doing that. I can't imagine what it must have felt like to just be sitting on the ground, no blanket, no lawn chair, nothing, for even longer than we sat outside. A little bit before 3 o'clock, the manager from the GameStop arrives and she comes over to talk to the crowd for a little bit. And let me tell you, this manager was awesome. She arrives at about 2:30 in the afternoon in a full Rosalina cosplay, the blue dress, blonde wig with a little crown on top, incredible. And she has a microphone with a speaker on it so that she can talk to the crowd without having to yell too much, in a way that we could all sufficiently hear what she was saying. The manager comes out and talks to the crowd for a few minutes. She thanks us for being respectful for the other businesses that were in line, repeats some of the same information that the other associate had told us about how many units are available, and then says that she's going to come around and give us a sticker that has a barcode and a number on it for our particular spot in line. So they come by and they give us our sticker, and mine had the number 10 on it.
Number 10?
And that was a moment where I thought, okay, this is getting really real. I think I can maybe start letting myself get excited about this. This feels really real now that I have a sticker with a barcode in my hand. And then another 30 minutes passes. It's officially 3 p.m. We packed up our lawn chairs and all of our other stuff and brought pretty much everything back to the truck, so that all we really had were our wallets and an umbrella just in case, and our little barcode sticker. Once the 3 p.m. pre-orders started, they were letting 5 people into the store at a time. So the first wave of people goes in, we sit outside for a little bit longer, and then at about 3:30 in the afternoon, we are ushered into the store and we get to go up to the register to officially place our pre-order.
Read it.
I personally got the Switch 2 bundle as well as the new Micro Express SD card that the new console required. Once we paid for our purchase, we were given two very important things, which was our receipt and a red sticker that had a number on it.
4.5 hours later, we got in the line, we got spot number 10, we got inside, we're prepaid. Now we just have to come back at midnight to pick it up.
Now, the first sticker I'd gotten was the number 10, but there were a couple other people who filled into the line in front of us before we went in to pay. So the number sticker I was given afterwards was number 12. And that number 12 sticker meant that I would be the 12th person who was allowed into the store to pick up the pre-order at midnight. And then at that point, we had a lot of time to kill because it was about 3:45 in the afternoon, and you had to be there to pick up your order at midnight. They were very, very big on letting us know that if you pre-order it, you had to be back at midnight to pick it up.
All right, we're back at the RV. We stopped for a bite to eat at the Irish pub on our way back, and now we have about 7 hours before it is officially pickup time. They're doing an event at GameStop starting at 10 p.m. where they're going to do a costume contest and trivia and some other things, and then start officially letting us pick up at midnight.
I had a little bit of cleaning and organizing to do around the RV, so I folded clothes, I did the dishes, and then we also ended up watching the original Karate Kid movie because I'm trying to watch the 3 original movies before we go see Karate Kid Legends.
All right, it's about 10:30. We passed the time by watching a movie, getting some cleaning done, hanging out around here, and now it is time to head back to GameStop so we can see what's happening with this whole launch event and actually get our Switch. I still don't think it's fully hit me that in an hour and a half from now, the console's going to be in my hand, and I know that it's real. I know that we've pre-ordered it, but it's gonna really be real, I feel like, once I have it in my hand tonight. I can't believe it's happening.
I didn't really know what to expect from this midnight release party that they were doing there. We were in Claremont, Florida, which is a bit outside of Orlando, so I imagine if we had been in more of a major city, such as Orlando, that there would have been a really, really big celebration there, but we were in a smaller town, and because of that, the crowd that showed up early was a little bit more minimal. So by the time we got back to GameStop at about 10:45 p.m., they were finishing up doing a little bit of a trivia event. When we walked in, they were specifically doing Legend of Zelda trivia, and I was pretty proud of myself because I actually knew some of the answers to the questions, and as someone who is a more recent Legend of Zelda fan, I was pretty proud of myself for that. After the trivia event, there was a cosplay contest, but again, because we were in an area with a bit of a smaller population, there were only 3 people who entered the cosplay competition, and of those 3, only one of them had, really put an effort to be in a cosplay. And it was this mom who was there with her husband and 2 kids who was in this gorgeous Princess Peach outfit. And the small crowd who was there unanimously decided that she was definitely the winner of the cosplay contest. So also the manager, still in her Rosalina cosplay, literally wore that cosplay for the entire day. So they took some cute pictures with the Princess Peach and the Rosalina together. It was very cute, very wholesome. And then at that point, it's a few minutes after 11. We are told that we have about 30 minutes where we can hang out in the store, buy other things, ask any questions that we need. And then at 11:30, they were going to have us all leave the store so the employees could do their final preparations to get ready to reopen their doors at midnight.
We're just a few minutes away. They're making some final logistics announcement. We got the receipt and number in hand. We are number 12.
The buzz and the excitement outside the GameStop leading up to when they opened their doors at midnight was so wholesome and so incredible to be a part of. People were super, super excited to be there, but also being really respectful and kind and It felt like truly a community that was there, where we were all excited about this thing, but we were all treating it in this really nice, respectful way. About 10 minutes before midnight, the manager comes outside to get the crowd hyped up, make sure that everyone had questions answered and knew what was going on, and then did a really good job of kind of setting the tone for excitement, but being responsible, good people. She says, "So we're all going to be adults about this, right? We're going to be respectful. We're going to listen to the numbers called. We're going to be good people about this." And the crowd is cheering and wooing and completely in agreement. So she did a great job of setting the tone of, we're all really excited to be here, but we're also going to be calm, cool, collected adults about this. So then it's midnight. They open up the cage behind the door, and they call in the first 5 people to get their Nintendo Switch 2s. And it was so wholesome, because then every time someone went in and got their Switch 2 and walked out the door, the whole crowd started cheering. And it was so wholesome, and we were all just so happy for each other. There was a group of 3 friends that ended up being some of the first to go in and pick up their Switch 2 pre-orders, and once they picked them up and came back outside, they took a minute to take some pictures outside the GameStop together. So it was super cute. They took their consoles out of their bags and were kind of showing them off to the crowd. So they took out the Switch 2 bundle and they're showing it off to the crowd, and the crowd is oohing and awing, and everyone's kind of respectfully getting a closer look at it. And then one of them takes out a copy of Mario Kart World and they're showing it off to everyone. It was so wholesome. They took some pictures outside the GameStop together. It was super cute. And then they call numbers 11 through 15, and we get to go inside the GameStop and pick up our pre-order.
Hi.
It was really simple. We went inside, we got up to the counter, handed the employee our sticker and our receipt. They went into the back, got the bag that was already pre-packed, and handed it to us. And just like that, I had a Switch 2. And it truly, I think, was that moment when I was handed the bag that it all really felt real. We get our bag, we go outside, and we open the door, and the crowd cheers as we walk out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Just the best vibes. And then something interesting happens. I look into Andrew's bag, where he's also gotten a Switch 2 bundle, and he has the box with the console, a physical copy of Mario Kart World, and then I look into my bag, and I have the box with the Switch 2 and the memory card that I got, but no copy of Mario Kart World. So I take my bag, and I go back into the GameStop, and I go up to one of the employees, and I said, "Hey, I got the bundle pre-order, but I'm missing my copy of Mario Kart." So he takes the bag from me, and he pulls out the box, and he says, "Oh, no, you're actually good to go. The box that you have includes a digital download for Mario Kart World. So you don't get a physical copy of the game, it's just included as a digital download with your box." Which immediately confused me, because Andrew got a physical copy of Mario Kart. And one of the other people in line who was taking out their stuff from the bag to show off to the crowd to take pictures also had a physical copy of Mario Kart. So I tell the employee, other people are getting physical copies of Mario Kart. And the employee kind of looks at me, and then looks to their coworker, and then looks back at me. And they said, "These bags were actually packed earlier in the day by the employees who were here earlier. So we actually weren't the ones packing these bags, but you're just supposed to have the download code as a part of your box and not a physical copy of the game." So we kind of look at each other for a second, and it clicks in my head that Andrew has received a free physical copy of Mario Kart World by accident. So I thank the employees for their time. I take my bag and we go back out to the truck. I now have a physical copy of Mario Kart World, which is so exciting for so many reasons. One, because we got it for free by accident. And two is because I have always enjoyed buying physical copies of games. Even in this kind of digital age, I am still, when I have the choice, always choosing to buy a physical copy over getting a digital download for a lot of different reasons. And I wasn't expecting to ever have a physical copy of Mario Kart World. And now I get to have one.
I can't believe it. I really can't believe it. We got it, we're back, and I'm so tired.
I was exhausted as being the 10th person in line. I can't even imagine how exhausted the people who were in front of us in line for, especially the first maybe 5 people who were in line. I can't even imagine what time they showed up to be that early in line. I have been a Nintendo fangirl my whole life. Some of the first video games that I ever played were on the Nintendo 64, and I was so blessed to game on so many Nintendo consoles my whole life. So to be able to be a part of my first ever midnight launch event for a Nintendo console was such a special moment for me. I am so grateful that we had the time and the money and the ability just in general to be able to be a part of it. I feel very privileged that we were able to be a part of something like this, and I just am so full of gratitude that this was possible. I am going to be playing Mario Kart World for the first time ever this Sunday. I am so excited to finally check out the game myself. I'm going to be live on Twitch this Sunday, June 15th, starting at noon Eastern, to finally take a look at the game, race a little bit myself, race with the community together, and I am so incredibly excited. Oh, wow. I'm gonna go play some Breath of the Wild now.